What's next, Doc?
Hey, Dave and Doc. I'm going to start my first cycle and am adamant about it. I'm 24 years old, okay? I plan on doing 400 to 500 milligrams per week. Can I keep it in one shot or do I have to do two? And can I get away with 400 or is 500 better? To preserve testicular function, I have opted to use HCG on cycle, but should that be throughout the entire cycle, 12 weeks? I am unsure about if it is better to take Arimidex v. Nolvadex throughout the whole cycle or only if side effects present. And HCG, keep it throughout my PCT. Okay, you know what one of my things I have to say here, because although I disclaim and that I'm giving medical advice to anybody, come on, man, I'm trying to help here. At 24 years old, just to say you're going to take a cycle, like I said, I'll tell people I'm a registered libertarian. You do what you want, but know what the risks are. If you don't have, pituitary microadenoma or, empty sella or, you're missing your testicles or whatever, if you don't need to take it, I can't sit here and say, hey, good for you as a responsible medical doctor. If you're adamant on doing it, just like, I refer to, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but, if an alcoholic is drinking a handle every night, well, okay, I will answer the question as to how best do we help you prevent from killing yourself with liver cirrhosis, okay? But I have to say that up front. Unless you've already been through this, in which case, I would apologize if it sounds like I'm being a jerk to you. If you're telling me you're adamant about it because you have a pituitary microadenoma that's inoperable and that's the only way you're going to get your test levels up, then okay, well then let's do it. 400 to 500 milligrams a week is not a replacement dose for HRT, all right? If you were to take that much, then the answer to the question would be absolutely divided up, because you don't want to have a huge peak followed by a trough. You're always going to be titrated at a level that's therapeutic, no doubt, but you have to deal with the side effects of what that high level of testosterone, those big peaks, can turn into. Dihydrotestosterone and estrogen, just to name two. And there's all kinds of side channels. We always talk about these main two, but look at the picture. We like to believe it's always going to follow those bold lines, but it can also go into all kinds of other androgens, okay, and estrogens. So you definitely want to divide up that much testosterone if you're going to use that much. 400 versus 500, is it better? I can't even answer that one, because as with everything, it's how you do it and why you're doing it and how it affects you. Okay, you can't treat numbers, you treat people. 500 could be better, 400 could be better. To preserve testicular function, HCG is absolutely a great idea. We've talked about that many times before, because your pituitary is not going to send a signal to your testicles anymore if you're taking that much exogenous testosterone. So you override that lack of message by using an analog, HCG, of LH that will tell those Leydig cells, hey, don't go to sleep on me. Right. I still need you later. So that one's easy. Always, I've only met one person in years of doing this. I stopped counting patients, a long time ago at 10,000. One person I've met, it was only in the last month or so, terrible time, but it doesn't matter, that's ever gotten away with not having to use an aromatase inhibitor. Really? Their body did not convert the testosterone into an excess amount of estrogen. Wow. It's the first time I've ever seen it. So everybody who comes to me for hormone replacement therapy, we start you on a prophylactic dose, I call it, of an anastrozole, and then we follow up to see if that's working well or not. So yeah, always, in my case, if you're going to start something like that, Arimidex over Nolvadex, by the way, because the problem with tamoxifen is you're still letting your body convert testosterone into estrogen, you're just blocking the receptor. Again, I've talked about this many times. Much more elegant to just block the convergence so you spare the very thing you're trying to keep in your body and don't even let the estrogen convert, and then you're worried about, okay, where am I blocking it? Does it block it everywhere it needs to be blocked or just some places? So that's an easy one also. And HCG throughout my post-cycle therapy, yes, that is considered, I think, by just about anybody who's out there, who wants to come off of a replacement dose or a steroid cycle, in order to get pregnant or just to get off this stuff. As we talked about earlier, post-cycle therapy, to make it easier, usually involves HCG, because you need to get those testicles up and running, or hopefully you've kept them up and running so that when the levels drop low enough and the pituitary says, hey, let's get going here, they're prepared to get going again.
Yeah.
So I think I answered all of his questions.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Thanks, Doc.
Hi, my name is Todd from Central Florida, 43-year-old male, bodybuilder, consistent user of AAS. My question is regarding PCT. The PCT protocol that I've been using consists of HCG, Clomid, and tamoxifen. Would incorporating HMG into the mix be helpful with this? Obviously, the goal is to bring everything back into homeostasis ASAP once all the esters have cleared the system. Could you also comment on the use of triptorelin, or GnRH, gonadotropin-releasing hormone? As I have read remarkable things about this bringing testosterone levels back to optimal very quickly, as I have also read that when dosed wrong, it can cause castration-like scenarios. Regarding elevated DHT levels, how can one combat this, specifically as it results to acne, finasteride, Accutane? Please advise. Best wishes to you, and thank you for all your time and advice. Thank you. The PCT, to which you're referring to, it's a pretty standard one. I mean, that's an old school one, although I've not seen tamoxifen added to Clomid as a typical one. I had a guy from Brazil in my office last week who was underneath, the care of a famous doctor down there, and I saw an incredible list of what I would consider, going after a mosquito with a bazooka. I mean, total overboard. But generally speaking, I don't see the need for tamoxifen and Clomid together, because the idea with PCT is you're trying to get your testicles to start functioning again, right? So if your brain picks up on the fact that you've got either elevated estrogen or elevated testosterone, it's not going to send a signal to create more. I think we talked about this before. You're definitely going to have reduced testosterone once you jump off a cycle for the first couple of weeks at least, right? You may have or may not have elevated estrogen, but it might be enough that your body says, okay, well, I'm not going to send a signal because, again, I know it's a jip in the scheme of things when you think about the design, but whether your body reads excess estrogen or excess testosterone, it's not going to send a signal to the testicles to make more testosterone, because estrogen is made from testosterone. So you either run the estrogen down by using anastrozole, or Clomid has been used forever to effectuate the same thing, blocking the receptors rather than blocking the conversion. And it does so in a way that is arguably better in the sense that it, like for example, it doesn't block estrogen reception in the liver, which tends to be more healthful for the liver, but it does block it, at other areas where, again, the pituitary reads it as it's not there and allows a signal to be created, the LH, to the testicles. The problem I've often found with using Clomid is it makes people want to jump off a building. Not everyone goes through this, because a lot of people say, oh, no, I never had a problem with Clomid, because they use Clomid for 3 weeks right after they stop their cycle. Well, you've got testosterone making you feel great for those 3 weeks.
Right. It's
not until after that 3 weeks and you have zero testosterone and then you start Clomid that you feel absolutely miserable. And you talk to people who've been on fertility cycles. A dear, dear friend of mine hung in there for 9 months. I don't know how he did it. But long ago, when I first got into this, for my own reasons, my own low T, I started using Clomid. After 4 days, I thought, okay, shoot me, because this makes me feel miserable. Now, some people not, but it wouldn't be my first choice. But yes, it does work as a PCT protocol. My preference would be just HCG and anastrozole. HCG is a LH mimic analog, so it will go right to the testicles until the Leydig cells start producing more testosterone. So we're good there. Adding HMG is interesting because it's not going for the Leydig cells. HMG is designed to go and effectuate a change in the Sertoli cells, those that create more sperm. Well, if that's your purpose, to increase fertility, more times than not, meaning in my experience, like close to 100% of the time, because of the physiology, HMG is unnecessary. It's used in fertility medicine, which I liken really, with the knowledge we have of it so far, pretty much to witch doctoring, okay? And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just we don't really have it down very well at all, except for, okay, I can take this egg and this sperm and put it together. That we're brilliant at. But, manipulating the body, not so much. But all we have to do is get the Leydig cells up and running again, typically, and the Sartori cells will work just fine. So the use of an HMG, by the way, is incredibly expensive. I don't know if he's looked into this or not, but the reason why the Sartori cells are not functioning typically is because they need a local prime. Once a sperm cell has been generated from the Sartori cell, then systemic testosterone can keep that sperm cell alive, bigger, stronger, faster, all the good stuff. But therein lies the rub. You need a local prime from the Leydig cell to get that Sartori cell to function. So in using HCG and getting Leydig cell up and functioning, you've killed two birds with one stone. So HMG, I would not recommend it at all. It's like break glass in case of emergency if you have a hole burning a hole in your pocket and you're really interested in getting fertile right away. Normally just getting the Leydig cells up and running again will do the trick. So don't recommend that one. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. Yeah, it'll work. It's an expensive way to do it. You have to dose yourself more frequently. Why not just use HCG? Short and sweet answer. I mean, really. Yes, it will work, but not to me, not the ideal way to do it. Never heard anything about using it in a way that would actually shut things down. But conceivably, anytime you replace one of your own hormones, it will say, well, you don't need me to be created anymore, and it'll shut down at least temporarily. So that would be, I guess you could argue that you could use, a gonadotropin releasing hormone improperly for a long time. Usually it's chronicity of use that causes the problem, not the dosing, meaning, not the strength.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't be, again, my first choice because it's also very expensive. DHT levels, how can we combat this? Well, we've said this many times.
Yeah.
Any 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, even something as simple as saw palmetto, with Pygeum, has been shown to reduce DHT levels by one mechanism or another, or fight what we're worried about with the DHT, I guess is a better way to put it. In regards to acne, finasteride is my first choice. When finasteride doesn't work, then I'll go to dutasteride because it hits the hair follicles. A lot of acne can show up as actually folliculitis, where the hair follicles, acne is generally accepted to be caused by a bacteria that sits on the skin and is getting fed by the sebaceous glands. All that nice oil, feeds the bacteria and allows it to clog the pores. Sometimes, that can lead to folliculitis and vice versa. So one thing I would throw in there that's not chemical is you can use an IPL or a certain laser to try and kill that bacteria. The energy frequency can get deeper and kill a recalcitrant case of acne that's caused by that bacteria. The other thing is the typical is doxycycline 100 milligrams times an antibiotic for 30 days, to help kill that sort of deep-rooted bacteria. Accutane is really reserved to really recalcitrant cases of acne, where the sebaceous glands are just out of hand. You've got cystic acne, and your worry is that not just cosmetically you're going to look crummy while you're taking your testosterone, but it's going to leave a scar that is there for life. And I don't know if this is from a male or a female, but there's very specific rules. At least in this country, we have to sign waivers. I can prescribe Accutane, but I have to get a female patient to sign off on a promise not to use it. If she even thinks she's going to become pregnant, and she has to practice, sex a certain way so she can't get pregnant because it's very, very dangerous to the fetus. DHT, by the way, is required for a fetus too, so you got to be careful with that for a female as well. It's not reserved. The use of finasteride is not reserved for males alone. Right. Same thing happens to a female. But Accutane is like, boy, that's for normal cases of acne, that's like using a bazooka for a mosquito. But for cystic acne that may scar, absolutely, it works really, really well. A lot of side effects often occur. You're gonna have to carry your Carmex, a moisturizer for your lips because it will dry out the skin. Wow. And it does work, but and there's some side effects that people argue about in terms of. I don't think they've been proven cases with the colon and sometimes tinnitus, but again, my hallucination is that that's not. Oh, it is Todd, a 43-year-old male from Florida.
Yeah.
He's talking about, but definitely in the quiver of our arsenal.
Good. Thank you, Doc.